time. I can practically promise you that. The last thing we're going to talk about for online spending is buy now, pay later. I'm hoping some of you have heard of buy now, pay later and how to use this responsibly. Also called BNPL, if you see that acronym. So buy now, pay later are basically point of sale loans. It is a financing option, but they're really not marketed as that. Are marketed as just sort of like a payment plan for free out of the goodness of their hearts. But we know that if the service is free, your information is the product. And these buy now, pay later programs do, I think, have a place in the greater spending universe for some people, some consumers who maybe don't have amazing credit or are still building credit. A buy now, pay later um, lender or loan may be a great opportunity with a lower interest rate or alternative to a credit card. Like I said, if credit isn't really an option or they're still building credit. But I would also say there are a lot of downfalls, potential downfalls, not only in the lack of protection, but in the lack of knowledge of what these services actually offer. So let's look at some of the more popular ones. And I am going to say again, I work in financial education and Afterpay got me. Afterpay was my best friend. I have used Afterpay a lot. I fell hard for the buy now, pay laters when they were first introduced. And again, I do this for a living. So the more you know, we don't know what we don't know, right? So the more you know, the better we can do. Afterpay was kind of the first company. They divide your purchase into 4 installments. You pay it every 2 weeks. That's it. They do not run a credit check. They don't charge interest. And they only charge you a fee if you do not pay on time. And that fee is going to be capped at 25% of whatever you bought, whatever that purchase price was. So if you choose Afterpay, if someone chooses to finance a purchase with Afterpay, it is very cut and dry, 4 installments every 2 weeks, no interest. That's their offer. That's their business model. Affirm, who owns ShopPay. So if you've seen ShopPay or you use ShopPay, that's an Affirm company. And I have an Affirm account also. I can confess I do use ShopPay too. ShopPay is different. So they do give you 4 installment options sometimes. They also will give you monthly payments. They'll do 3, 6, or 12 months. They will offer a lot more math, I have noticed, but only about a third of their loans are taken out with no interest, don't charge interest, 0% interest. 2/3 of them do have interest rates, and those can run up to 30%. So you can see kind of examples there if you're looking at the screen. So with Afterpay, you buy a $130 dress, it's 432.50 installments. But this Peloton, now, like if you buy a Peloton with Affirm, and that is the company they work with, now you have more options. You can do it for, it looks like 39 months, which is an odd term, $58 a month for 39 months, or, they'll give you all different options. So that's really where being aware of what is being offered to you and how that compares to using credit needs to be understood by our students. Klarna, I'll be honest, Klarna I know the least about because I have never used it personally, but I do know that they offer multiple different options like monthly installments or the 4 biweekly payments. They also do like a pay it in full just at a later date, which is not something I've seen from Afterpay or Affirm. But they do charge late payment fees of up to $10 and up to 20% interest on their purchases. So these buy now, pay laters are becoming really, really popular, very, very common with the holiday season kind of coming up. You're going to see more advertisements and offerings for them, and our students will too. So there's important things that we need to know and be able to share with them about using these programs responsibly, because what they are seeing, I've seen research that says that 18 to 25-year-olds are overdrawing their accounts when it comes to using buy now, pay later. So it's really important to do your homework first, know which program you're using, or sorry, which company you're using, What are they offering you? How much are they going to make off of you? And a lot of times do your homework means do math. This is where the sneaky math comes in, because when you're doing math to save yourself money, it's a little bit less painful than normal math. Always be cautious when you're handing over banking information. This is frictionless spending, which means your information is going on to into the void, so to speak. So you always have to be careful whenever you're putting that banking information into a frictionless environment, into a digital environment. You got to avoid missed payments. Again, overdrawing your account because of a missed payment. Then you're getting an overdraft fee. Sometimes those fees continue weekly. So these can really start to snowball. These fees can snowball once you start missing a payment if students aren't recognizing that not only do you need to have the payment that day, but you have to plan for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks in advance to know what else is going to come out of your account. And I genuinely have to do this. When I do my budgeting, I will go through and check my Afterpay and check my ShopPay to make sure I know when those, they're smaller chunks that are like $18, but you still got to know when they're coming out. And then don't be tempted to overspend. And that is where these companies really get you. It is easy to say, oh, well, $100, that's only $25 every couple of weeks. I could probably spend 150 because I could afford that, So you start kind of adding more to the cart. I know that Afterpay, specifically when they're trying to market their services to a retailer, they can say, we can provide you higher cart conversions and a higher average total sale, because they know that these services will encourage, with frictionless spending, you're more likely to spend, and you're more likely to spend a higher amount. And these companies exist to make money, right? They, as far as how they do that, they charge retailers for fees. They make the interest on long-term purchases, and then they make fees off anyone who defaults on their payments. They can even take legal action against customers who fail to pay. And it's also worth mentioning that there are protections that you're missing when you use a buy now, pay later versus, for example, a credit card. So a credit card company will, guarantee or return your money if you can prove it was a fraudulent charge. That's not necessarily going to work with a buy now, pay later company. If a package is stolen, who is responsible for replacing it at that point? If you have to do a return, I can personally tell you it gets a lot more complicated when two companies are involved. So it's something to consider. I think we're going to see this used more and more. And Afterpay, like I said, offers a credit card now. I know that for qualified users. So it's just a world, or we need to be prepared to make responsible financial decisions in. And so all of this is from another FinCap Friday on Buy Now, Pay Laters. Again, I think this is one of those things that most kids will have some sort of frame of reference for, kind of like shopping online. And then also remember, all of these come with a Kahoot as well, if that's something you would like to do to extend learning. So that was a lot of information. Thank you for sticking with me on consumer skills in a digital world for our digital spenders. Just a quick recap: if the service is free, you are the product. Remember that social media is literally designed to encourage spending. One of those designs is through dark patterns that will trick you into spending more money that you want unless you learn to recognize them. And then buy now, pay later is really here to stay. So let's make sure that we're using it responsibly. Yes, I have a note in the chat. Oh, let's see here. Amazon is, I would say, unfortunately, one of the worst when it comes to some of these dark patterns. Obviously, you saw the trick when it comes to getting you to cancel a subscription or trying to get you to sign up for Prime. It is one of those And speaking of compare or consumer skills, one of them that I think people will say a lot is to read reviews. I could do a whole webinar on reading reviews. Be very, very careful about the reviews you trust, but I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. I want to make sure we get through this next chunk, which is financial decision making.